Hello, tonight we're going to make the For Peat Sake Scotch Ale from the Home Brewers Companion by, hopefully I'll say this right, Charlie Papazian. And that's on page 310 for those of you that want to give this a shot. What I thought I was going to be making was a Scotch Import Ale. I should have read the whole description before I went and bought the ingredients. What we're making is something a little bit different than that. This is actually going to be a very, very smoky brew. I'll talk about that in a little bit here. Before we get too far into this, I've heated some water up to 168 degrees. That's 10 degrees above our target mash-in temperature of about 152 to 153. So I'm going to go ahead and pour that into our beverage cooler here. And this is just a standard Igloo 2-gallon cooler. Alright, so we got a bit of that water in there. Before I pour the rest in, I'm going to go ahead and lower the grain in here. And we want to do this real slowly, making sure that all of this grain gets nice and wet here. Ooh, man, I can already smell the smokiness here. It's going to be a very, very smoky brew for sure. Pour the rest of my water in here. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here, but you can lift that in and out of the water a few times. But you don't have to be shy about poking the grain here. Make sure that it's all getting good and wet. Alright. Once you've done that, go ahead and throw the cover on here. And this is going to sit for 1 hour. As you may have heard me say before, after a little bit, if you're feeling the hot spots on your cooler, make sure you throw a towel over it. It'll help conserve that heat and make sure that you're getting in at that target temperature, which is again 152, 153 tonight. The grain's been in our mash water for about half an hour now. So in the meantime, I am heating about 2 gallons of sparge water up to 170 degrees. And we're going to run this through the grain once our initial mash is complete. In the meantime, let me just talk a little bit about this beer. Like I said to begin with, I thought this was going to be an import Scottish ale, or Scottish Import Ale rather, but it's not the case. This is going to be something that's really smoky, so if you're not a fan of smoky beers, this may not be the one for you. The recipe specifically mentions this may be something for fans of single malt Scotch. So I'm imagining this is going to be have that really smoky single malt flavor. At any rate, the grains that we're using tonight is 2.2 pounds of barley smoked, peat smoked barley rather. 1 pound of 40 Lovibond crystal malt, and 1.5 pounds of Vienna malt. If you wanted to do this as an actual Scottish import ale, you would actually want to go ahead and reduce the peat smoked barley down to about 5%. Right now it's at about 30. So if you wanted to do this as something that might be a little bit more drinkable for you, you want to use about 5.6 ounces of the peat smoked barley and replace the remainder of that 2.2 pounds with a just normal like 2-row pale malt. It's been 60 minutes, so let's go ahead and drain the liquid out of here. I'm going to go ahead and use this glass jar as usual and probably burn myself, but that way you can kind of see what color this is going to be here. Alright, nice and dark there. Definitely smells really smoky. And again, as usual, go ahead and pour the first couple of these back over the top of this. Just have to do this once or twice here. Helps filter out some of the particulate. Now I'm just going to go ahead and drain this into one of my pots here. We've got our sparge water at 170 degrees, so we're going to go ahead and start to pour this over our grain here. Try to be as gentle as possible and not do very much splashing. Go ahead and fill this right back up to about the point you had it the first time when we mashed in, rather. And just like we did the first time, go ahead and poke around at the grains. And again, don't be shy about this. Really go ahead and make sure you're mixing it up good. Put the lid back on and set the timer for 5 more minutes, and then we're going to drain this and run the rest of that water through. It's been 5 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and drain this off. Do the same thing we did last time. I'm going to run the first couple pints of this through. Notice it's a little bit lighter in color. So once again, I'm emptying that into my pot here. This isn't the pot that I'm going to use to ultimately boil the wort, but I'm running into a little bit of a conundrum where I just don't have enough large pots around the house. So it's not the best way that we could do it, but that's the way I kind of have to do it in this situation. So I'm putting as much as I can in this pot, and hopefully I'll be able to run enough water through to make a clean transfer to the brew pot here. And now that we have this grain heated up, I'm thinking should just be able to run the rest of this hot water through here. So I'm going to go ahead and poke around at the grain. Again, this isn't, of course, the optimal way to do a mash, but in a tiny kitchen, it's the best way I've figured out to do it anyways. I ran the remainder of that 2 gallons of water over the grain, and I got it all in the brew pot eventually. Wasn't the neatest process, but it worked. And we've got that at a boil now, so we're going to go ahead and add the rest of our sugars, which actually in this case is rather just the rest of our sugar. 3 pounds of a plain light malt. So I'm going to go ahead and dump that in here. Again, as always, make sure that you're stirring this as you add it here, so it doesn't stick to the bottom and scorch. That goes doubly for anybody out there using a really thin bottom pot like this. There's not a lot of sugar in this brew. It looked like it was going to turn out to be right around about 5%. Not a very strong beer. So hopefully it's drinkable. It'd be nicer if it was really strong. That way, even if it ended up tasting bad, you wouldn't have to drink too many of them to get a buzz. But we'll see how this goes. Usually this guy's recipes are pretty decent. Alright, got that mixed in, and we're going to add the one other ingredient at the boil here. And this is where we're straying from the recipe a little bit. I'm going to use a Yakima Golding hop. So a little bit different. I can never seem to make an entire recipe exactly according to what it says, so that's how it's playing out in this case. So I'll get these mixed in and set the timer for 45 minutes. This one, this beer actually has a long boil, 75 minutes total. So again, setting the timer for 45 here. Our wort's been at a boil for 45 minutes now. So we're going to go ahead and add our second to last ingredient, and that is 1 ounce of Kent Golding's hops. And for this one, I'm using a pellet hop. For the Yakima Golding, I was actually using a leaf hop. And our 1/4 teaspoon of Irish moss. And that's about it. I'm going to set the timer for another 15 minutes, and that'll finish up the boil. From that point, of course, as usual, we just want to go ahead and cool the wort as quickly as possible, and then pour that onto some cool water in a fermenter, and then top that off to 5 gallons. And then, of course, if your wort is at the proper temperature, maybe like the mid-70s or so, you can go ahead and just pour the yeast over the top and close up the fermenter. If it's not, since I always brew at night, at that point I usually go ahead and just close up the fermenter and wait till morning. That's always the right temperature by that point, and then I add the yeast then. Anyways, that's all for tonight. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.